Hi.
Hi! Portugal Junkies, we are so glad to welcome you back to this. Are we excited about this episode?
We are excited, but not in a woohoo, we did good kind of way. I think this is a humbling moment, and one that if we could turn the clocks back, we would not have done. So in anticipation of that, I think that people embarking on this D7 on like apartment search.
Over here?
Yeah, if you're coming over here, I think this one's for you.
It's like learn from our mistakes type of thing.
Yeah.
So we are going to be talking about our apartment, the first one.
Yeah, because this is our second.
The apartment we sit in today is not our first one, and we sit here in this apartment today because of the first one. So, but before we get into that, let's talk about what we're drinking, hon. You gotta talk.
It is Espumante de Qualidad.
That means quality. Sparkling.
Yeah.
And it is. It's really good.
It's really good. It's from Lidl. It's $2.99. It's a semi-sweet Espumante.
Yes, and semi-sweet on the bottle it says meio seco. Mm-hmm. Meio seco. That's how they say semi-sweet. Awesome.
Yep.
And how much did this bottle cost?
It was $2.99 from Lidl.
€2.99, which is about, it's less than $350.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's good enough just to.
It's so good. I'm enjoying it.
Just a sip.
Yeah, especially as it gets to the summertime.
Yeah.
It's light and a little bit sweet.
Last couple of days have been beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So
we're going to start sharing with you what we're drinking. So that'll be our intros.
Yeah, I think that's a good format to start.
Maybe we should pair it with cheese next time. We'll talk about the wine and the cheese that we're having.
Okay. And then at some point we'll probably get into the content.
Probably, maybe.
Maybe we should just
maybe
have
do
a whole
one episode
on
just wine and cheese. Okay, so let's talk apartment.
Okay.
And let's talk about our big bad mistake.
Okay. Good.
So again, the apartment that we sit in right now is lovely. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, big modern kitchen. It's just lovely, and you can see the stone walls behind us. It was our first apartment had many lovely things about it, aesthetically, like I just described to you, but it was just too expensive.
Yeah.
And I think here's the thing to set this up. You have to have a lease in place, a year lease in place before you actually apply for your D7 visa. It doesn't have to be effective for that appointment, but it has. There's not many landlords out here who will be like, I'm gonna post date or push out the date.
Start it in 3 months. I won't take any money.
They're not gonna do that.
No, they're not gonna leave it empty.
So you kind of have to take on those costs up front, whether you like it or not. It is the process, and after you realize that, and then you actually start looking for apartments. Most people are looking for them remotely, which I don't really see as much of a challenge. But in retrospect, don't you think we made some mistakes there?
Yeah, for definite.
So we worked with a company who was going to help us find an apartment.
Yeah.
And our help would actually go and she would get on a call with us and talk through where we want to be, what our budget is, what are we looking for, and then we would land on 3 or 4 for her to go and see and video us about the apartment.
On a virtual tour. Simple.
So we see this apartment one day, and it's supposed to be in a neighborhood called Serofeta, which is very artsy. There's art galleries. There's a famous pedestrian type of shopping and walk area there, near the metro or near a metro station that was being built. Yeah. All the things on paper.
Tick, tick, tick.
That we're ooh. And on top of that, your girl right here literally was fawning over the photos.
Yeah.
It was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, very modern, with a balcony in the front and a balcony out the back and a loft.
Yeah.
Okay? So again, you got to remember, this was summer of 2023 when we had just decided that this is something that we wanted to do. And we didn't know what we didn't know.
Nope.
Like, we were trying to, like, how much can we downsize? We were in a ridiculously big house for us.
Yep.
I can look back and say that. We knew that then. But, like, we were in a house that we built, and it was just the two of us and the dog.
Yeah.
And it was almost 3,700 square feet. We were used to a lot of room, whether we used the rooms or not.
A lot of it we didn't use.
And so when you are faced with that and go, okay, well, is a 2-bedroom going to be big enough for us? Then the answer would have been, ooh, I hope. So seeing the loft and...
It just had an accommodating amount of additional space, sort of away from... We could separate, so somebody could be in the living room, somebody could be up in the loft, or somebody could be in the bedroom. There was a good amount of functionality to the home, to the apartment.
And on top of that, we were the first people in there.
Yeah, it had been renovated.
It had been fully renovated.
And that was part of the thing that I think one of the problems is that it was an old building originally.
Yeah.
And they'd sort of done all the repairs and the renovations inside, but I think they'd not really taken care of some of the important stuff. Again, we'll come into that.
Let's talk about it now. What do you think are what were the drawbacks besides? Oh, well, let's just talk about it. We went over our budget in choosing this apartment, despite saying we wouldn't.
Right.
But let's talk about why.
I think for why, it really comes down to you're moving across an ocean, you're going to somewhere different, you want to make sure that when you get to where you're going, and maybe you've seen it once, maybe you've only ever seen it through virtual tour, so you've never physically been to it before you sign for it. It's us. And I think when you're moving that far and uprooting everything, you just want something that you know, or that you feel you know, is going to be a great landing point. That you're not going to be worried about. Oh my gosh, am I sure about that fridge, or am I sure that looked okay,
or is it too drastic of a change?
Right. And so I think it was just making sure that we were comfortable in the space that we were going to land in.
Right.
And I think we paid dearly financially.
We thought that this place would give us that. I will also echo that I knew myself well enough to know that I was going to be going through a lot of like emotional change coming from the States here, missing my family, just being exposed to everything that makes you uncomfortable. And so trying to be ahead of that and say, okay, but at least our home will be a place that feels comfortable.
Comfort. Yeah.
If we had gone, I always say this now, charm wears off.
Yeah,
like when you get romanticized by a place and you're like, oh my gosh, I want it to feel authentically Portuguese. But the realities of those kinds of apartments can be like no modern amenities, no air conditioning, things like that are so drastically different than what we were used to that I thought that might be too far the other way for us to transition better, right? So that's the reason why we went over our budget.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what our budget was. I think it was going to be less than 2,000 euros.
Originally. We paid more.
We're paying for that new apartment 2,500 euros a month. I shaking my boots now because
shook us to the core.
I know better. We know better now. It just was a situation where we were making the best decisions we could at the time.
And I think also, at the time we were having to make these decisions was on the back of, okay, we've got our appointment with VFS. We have to have this, and the other
and we have to get it
place before that appointment. And, no one wants to run the clock. Nobody wants to be at the 11th hour and going, I don't have this last minute.
Yeah.
A really important thing, because if you don't have this, if you don't have a bank account, if you don't have
turn you away.
You're screwed. There's just no point in even going to the VFS, to be fair.
I felt like we were under the clock.
Yeah.
I also felt a pressure of comfortability. So that's why we chose the more expensive route and probably went against our gut in a lot of ways. I kind of take responsibility because I was the one who was like,
it'll be okay.
Won't it be okay? But I will say this. That was not the only thing wrong with the apartment. So let's talk about the rest of it.
Yeah, so...
Go ahead.
I think this is really important. You know, we, and maybe you guys, you're coming from a environment that you are very familiar with. You know, be it your hometown or your neighborhood or whatever it is, and the house that you're coming from. And you're now going to step into another country with a different way of doing everything, or a different way of the house presenting itself. But it wasn't just the house that I think got to us the most, or the apartment rather. It was the fact of when we were shown the apartment, we didn't really get to see the street. And I think that was a failure on our part, that we didn't say, okay, well, can you step out the front door and show the camera left and right and walk us around the area? Because
the curb appeal.
We could go to Google Maps, but you can only get whatever Google Maps did updated. Whenever it did it.
Yeah.
And so we missed out. And I think this is really, really important. And again, because, you know, as coming from America to Portugal, it's different designs of homes.
Yeah.
I just think that if we'd have come and we had have seen that apartment
on that street
in our own eyes, not through a virtual tour, we probably
wouldn't have said yes.
We wouldn't have said yes because there were just different things that we didn't like. I mean, it's one of those unfortunate things, but we just didn't like certain aspects of it. But we didn't see that through the virtual tour, and I think that's something really important. Whether you have somebody scout for you, whether you
or doing it virtually is fine, and we just didn't ask for that additional
which is a
look.
Which is a real fail.
Yeah.
You know,
we should have done that.
Considering, but I think that's one of the biggest ones.
Yeah. So the street / curb appeal. Here's the other thing. That apartment was on on the third floor, which is fourth floor for USA.
In US speak.
Okay. There
didn't
was
have
no
a
elevator.
lift, no elevator. It'll be fine, they said. 63 steps, they said. I tell you now, I mean, I love going up hills. Walking up hills, don't bother me.
Everest.
But you walk 63 steps up and 63 down to take the dog. Then you've got to walk 63 back up. And then you realise, oh crap, I forgot to go and get the milk. 63 down and 63 up. I mean, it grates after a couple of weeks, days.
We misjudged that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I thought I was going to it'll be okay. I'll live with it because we've got this great looking apartment in this fabulous area.
And it was.
Again. But
when you got up the 63 steps and you opened the door, the actual apartment was perfect.
Yeah.
Seriously, I have no complaints about that beautiful apartment. Which was hard to leave it, to be honest.
It was good.
But I think those things coupled with the 2,500 euros a month, you said it earlier, it starts to become about value instead of the price. Mm-hmm. If everything was perfection, maybe we wouldn't have been so eager to move.
Right.
I don't know. I do also think that we're learning. We're learning that, I mean, we've even talked about our next place not needing 2 bedrooms. You know, we're getting better and better as we experience this life about what's really important. What are we really using? What's a waste for us? How much more can we downsize of our stuff that literally we move in and we put it in a closet and we never see it again until we're ready to move the next time, then we don't need it.
That's right.
Like, and there is a freedom in that, you guys, that is lovely, and I thought I would never say that because the downsizing from our house to the first move here was really, really hard in some points for me.
I think it was definitely harder for you.
It was the emotional stuff. It was like, leaving behind some of that stuff that I've had with me my whole adult life, right? And finding a place for it that doesn't come with us and all that. But like the minute you start peeling away your attachment to those things, the more you think, gosh, that means that we're more mobile. That means we can go here and here and here and maybe spend some time in a place that costs even less.
Yeah.
So I think that's where we're changing in terms of the experiences changing us personally. At least me. I won't speak for you, but I feel that way.
Yeah, but I think also I had a jump start on you. Moving from England to the States.
with one suitcase.
One suitcase and one backpack, and essentially that's all I moved here with.
Yeah.
And so I'd already shed my life in that sense, all my belongings. Having said that, the caveat is thank you to my mum because her attic is full of all my other stuff.
I've got one of these. I'm like, let me guess. It's in Mom's attic. That's where all your stuff is.
Because again, there are sentimental things that you just do not and will not get rid of and leave. And I think that's important. But at the same time, I do believe I had a jump start on you for that. And having moved around a little bit more to different places and more often. But it's in terms of going from the States to this new life in this new apartment, that was a big shift.
Yeah, and I think we've shifted again coming to this apartment.
Yeah.
So we don't have the loft anymore, and I don't really miss it. We have 2 bedrooms, we have tons of storage.
Well, quick correction, we have 1 bedroom, and then if you watched a recent TikTok reel or Instagram reel, might have been on both, the other room is currently a walk-in wardrobe. The whole bedroom. Just a quick...
Shut it.
Just a quick definer of don't need a loft.
The other thing about that apartment, and this is the last final thing I'm going to say about it from a financial perspective. Places here often want more than 1 month up front. They might want 2 months up front and then your last month and then a security deposit. Yeah. So think about that for a second at a €2,500 rate.
Right.
It was a lot of upfront and a lot that our money was kind of tied into. Of course, it was going to come back to us because of our security deposit and the fact that you're paying for the last month, whatever. But that is where the financial piece comes in, where you're like, dang.
Yeah.
And now we could have chosen. There were tons of options in terms of apartments that didn't have modern amenities, apartments that probably were on streets that we didn't love even more than the street that we were on in the first apartment, and you could pay 800, 900 euros a month for that.
What are you going to get?
And that is a pure, that is your choice when you're deciding to move over here. We could have taken, and we talked about this, we could have taken the complete opposite approach and been like, look, if I've got to pay all this money up front and I can't really see the apartment, why don't I just get the cheapest apartment possible and deal with it? And we went back and forth about that. I don't think we would have been happy that way either.
No, I don't think so, because again, go back to what we said at the beginning, we wanted to, with everything that was going on, and everything that does go on when you're moving, the one thing that you want to make sure is that when you close the door, when you go to bed, when you get up and have your first cup of tea, coffee, whatever it is, wine,
that you feel good.
That you feel good.
Yeah.
And you think, okay, because it kind of starts and ends your day where you are, where you sleep. And I think that's a huge thing. So it was a mistake to pay that much in terms of financial, but in terms of what it did for our comfort level,
that we did the right thing with that.
That was the value.
I agree. So we did move to a new apartment, and here in Portugal.
I would just say one other thing. No matter what you do, where you go, whatever the price is, it's negotiable.
It's kind of weird.
Just make sure. I mean, again,
negotiate.
I think they did a little bit, but I think they probably could have pushed it harder. But because we were up against it, we just said, "Hey, look, just sign it. Just get us that apartment because we're up against it." But I do think that if it's something that's been on the market a while, and it's, again, rentals in the US are a little bit different to here. You can negotiate it here.
It's
so
crazy.
I
don't know of any. I mean, maybe I'm ignorant, but I don't know of any. It's never been my experience that you negotiate a rent.
Yeah.
But
if you got somebody on your side,
yeah,
do it. Because what's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to say no.
So the leases here also are, when you sign a year lease, basically in a clause in the lease says you can exit this lease early as long as you fulfill like 2/3 of it. I was thinking 23, 2/3 of the lease, which ends up being 7 months of the 12-month lease. So the good thing is that we had the lease for August, and so we could leave 7 months from August. And so we were able to find another tenant, or they were willing to work with us to find another tenant, and we were able to leave the lease.
Get out.
Yeah.
A month or so
earlier.
early.
Yeah, a month or two early, which was nice because that helped us financially on that.
On
But
this new place. But again, houses or the apartment was really, really nice inside.
It was beautiful.
But again, one of the things that really, really grated on me was the fact that if you ran the washing machine, the microwave, and the oven, and then went and had a shower, it would blow a fuse and it would like trip everything out. But that's the problem. It's an old building.
Yeah.
And
we were the first ones to live there.
It did not have the wiring capacity to deliver all of these, quotes, new modcons.
What's a modcon?
A modern convenience.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you shorten everything?
Because it's easy.
You're so stupid.
Good. So that's what I would say is that sometimes these things they can look great, and often they are. And I'm not trying to pick on people that don't do a good job, but it looked perfect job. But
it didn't end up being worse.
2 or 3 times when you blow a fuse just because you want to run two to 4 different things.
Can you tell that really bothered me?
Really pissed me off. Anywho.
Okay, so let's recap the tips for people if they are moving or wanting to look for an apartment. First of all, this is something that we are willing to do for you. So if you're coming to Porto, give us a call. Because of our real estate background and because we live here and because we've gone through this, this is just obvious.
One can look at it and say, well, you should have known better. And we probably should. And I think that if that demonstrates that a, quote, seasoned professional can sometimes screw it up,
then now we really know.
Now we really know.
Yeah. So I would say if you have to do it remotely, work with someone like us or someone else, but also make sure that you're not just seeing the apartment, you're asking detailed questions about the street and the access and the lobby and like show me video of what it looks like to walk in the door. Things like that. Asking who's lived there before. Is this a brand new apartment? Are there going to be things that have not worked for tenants before? Those kinds of things, like I really wish we had, but again, you can't change anything. We know better now. It's just how it is.
That's right.
But is there anything else you would add in terms of like tips? Don't think the stairs are not a big deal.
They are.
They're a big deal.
Yeah.
I would say anything above being on the second floor. So we are not the ground level, not the first level, but maybe the second floor is probably doable for most people who don't have mobility issues.
Right.
That I could have dealt with.
Yeah.
But no, for 63 steps, people. 63 steps up. That's all I gotta say.
And when you're moving over with 12 suitcases, that's a lot. And they're £50 each.
He's still got PTSD about it. I'm sorry.
I shudder.
I'm sorry.
No, well, it's one of those things. But again,
learn from our mistakes.
Don't underestimate the reality of it. Don't think, it'll be okay. I mean, you may be the sort of person that it is okay, and that's something that's going to, I don't care, and I'm going to get on with it.
Yeah.
But I tell you now, when we moved over and it started to rain, more or less within a week or so of us arriving, and it rained for 3 months.
It was.
And you are taking the dog out twice a day. And you're
steps.
going shopping once every 2 days. It's a lot. It really is a lot.
It really does become a lot. And I will also say this. So you're sitting here listening to us throw out numbers like 2,500 euros. And I want to stress that it's high.
Yeah.
It's really expensive for Porto. It's really expensive for Portugal. So don't be intimidated by our stupidity. Seriously.
Yeah, because where we
you
are
can
now,
live here. Exactly. Our apartment is 900 euros
I'm not a
less.
person or a robot. I'm software.
I'm sorry.
when you go to meetings or you go to the cinema and they say, make sure your phone is on silent.
It
or
is
turned
on
off.
silent. Look. I'm not editing this out. I'm going to let that just be.
Hashtag real life.
Our apartment is 900 euros less than the apartment that was farther from the river and on the street that we didn't really love.
Right.
We did give up square footage or square meterage.
Mm-hmm.
We have a smaller kitchen. But other than that, we haven't given up.
There's
much.
nothing noticeable about this apartment.
I'll also say this. I still think $1,595 is high.
But I think it's $1,595 because it was a completely refurbished building.
Yes.
It's not just the apartment, but the whole building was gutted down to the brick wall. I mean, behind us is the live wall from the cookie factory. And if I were to shine the camera up a little bit, you can see the original post holes where the beams went from this wall to the other wall.
But I just want to say that to make sure that people are not hearing 2,500 euros and going, why in the hell are people saying Portugal is affordable then? Because that might be somebody's mortgage at home. 100%. I need you to hear me when I say that there are much more affordable options, and I keep having to put a little asterisk by that because affordability is relative.
Yeah.
And what you want out of what your money gets you is up to you.
Yeah.
There are plenty of places in this city that are absolutely, you can enjoy living there for less than what we even pay here.
For this.
So I think I want to reiterate that because I don't want it to come across and be like, I thought they said it was cheap to live here.
Yeah.
Again, it could have been if we didn't make this mistake.
Yeah.
And I think we're correcting it. But I also think that as we move to different places, which we probably will.
Yeah, we're going to be so much more.
I'm just going to be eager to pay even less and less and less because it's almost like a graduated step down. Can you find a place?
Can I get a place that's cheaper than we were?
Well, yeah, but that's comfortable to you.
Right.
Yeah, that's still comfortable to you and has the space and whatever you need.
Yep.
This is again like we talked about with the whole 2-bedroom thing. It's nice, but when people come to visit, we've had that would be 1 or 2 times a year probably.
And I think that if we were, again, we don't believe that we're going to be in this apartment for much longer than maybe another 3-ish, maybe.
Yeah, this is our city life experience.
This is our city life experience, and that's great, and that's what we're going to enjoy it for. But if we had a second bedroom in the next one, I think what I would probably do is, before renting it, is have them agree to take the bed out and leave it blank. And I'd recreate that as a workspace for us.
Yeah, we do need that.
Because
as you can see, we're sitting at our
dining table. And, it is what it is.
Hey, at least this apartment has a dining room table.
Yeah, we're roughing it.
We're not roughing it.
But again, it is all relative. It's relative to the space that you want in the area that you want, and how much you're willing to spend, and what you're willing to give up and trade. You can move just along the coastline from here to Foch, and it's maybe 4 miles away, right to the it's the hoity-toity. I mean, it's really, really lovely.
Mm-hmm. And very expensive.
Beautiful areas.
And then you go out remote. If you're away from the water or away from a city, it's really affordable.
Yeah.
So it's just what you want out of your experience.
We didn't want a car in the city, and that's another reason why we chose Porto, is because we felt on our trips that we came came here to have for holidays and such. We knew that we'd be able to get around with Uber and or
Metro.
Shanks's Pony or the Metro.
Shanks's Pony?
On foot.
Tell the people.
Like, you know, you plate some meat.
Pony.
You plate some meat. Your feet.
Don't bring the Cockney out. I can't even begin to explain your Cockney stuff to the people. So, anyway.
Well, maybe we'll have a Portuguese Cockney.
Oh, God. As if Portuguese is already there. Anyway, thank you so much for listening and, you know, not judging us for our decisions. But we do want to want to share these things because
it's important.
I don't want the next person to make the same mistake.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not a fan of like dwelling on the past. You deal with it, you move on, you learn from it, and you know better next time.
Yeah.
But if you have questions, if you are interested in scouting in Porto, if you are interested in travel itineraries, we're doing all these things now.
Yeah.
So check us out on Instagram because our link in our bio has a lot of this stuff listed already for you to get in touch with us.
Yeah.
But also, we are always open for doing Q&A podcasts. So, and we just recently recorded one, and so we would love to have your questions to continue some of those every month.
Absolutely, and I think if there's an opportunity, and I mean, quite how you sort of do it from a tech way, I'm not sure, but if there was anybody that wanted to jump on a Zoom and you have a Q&A,
that would be fun.
5 minute, 8 minute, 10 minute, whatever, you got 2 or 3 questions, and we just have a quick Zoom, and then we can release that as part of the whole community thing. And I think it's not just a case of us wanting to talk
about us,
people about our experiences. We want that to be an involved process. And I think that's where.
So bring it on, Portugal junkies.
Come on.
Bring it on. All right, babe.
All right.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
See you next time.
Take care.
Listen up, future expats. For more content about our move, the visa process, Portuguese culture and destinations, and tons of support resources for your own decisions and potential move abroad, follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Portugal Junkies.
Stay in touch and help us reach more people by subscribing here and following us there.
Cheers, y'all!